everyone, Mitch coming in for the Commander Core Studio. Welcome to the show. So on today's episode, I've got a spicy one for you with the spiciest card in every color in Magic the Gathering. Let's jump into it. First up, we've got Radiant Performer. This 22-cent card has insane levels of spice. A 2/2 human wizard with flash for 5 mana in red. When it enters the battlefield, if you cast it from your hand, choose target spell or ability that targets only a single permanent or player, and you copy that spell or ability for each other permanent or player the spell or ability could target. Each copy targets a different one of those permanents and players. This is such a unique and specific card. It is absolutely insane. Here's the thing. This is based off of a very, very old card called Radiate. That being said, this version, well, can do some things that one might not be able to do. And, well, it being on a creature that has an ETB, yes, you can utilize that. I mean, you have to cast it again, but still, you can utilize that again if you need to. That being said, this can be the type of card where when you cast it once, you do something no one has ever seen before. And when I say you, well, I mean, it's not me who learned the craziness of this card, but Alec is the one who showed off the insanity of this card with a Kaneos and Tiro deck, and yeah, it's quite the spicy build. I'll try to highlight some of the key pieces of it and just the potential of a card like this. Again, when it comes to spice, it's hard to beat this plus, I don't know, let's just say Mythos of Iluna. Sorcery plus 4 mana in blue. I mean, technically you can use other colors on it too, but even just blue is fine for this. Create a token that's a copy of target permanent. If Gruul colors was spent to cast this spell, instead create a token that's a copy of that permanent, except the token has, when this permanent enters the battlefield, if it's a creature, fights up to one target creature you don't control. Here's the thing. Literally, again, this plus Radiant Performer, alright? You cast this, and then while it's on the stack, you cast Radiant Performer, and you say, hey, target everything you can potentially copy. Okay, Mythos of Iluna again says, create a token's copy of target permanent. Not even just on land, just any permanent. So, technically, again, it could target anything on the board, and when you do your real copy thing with Radiant Performer, you're like, oh, okay, target every single permanent on the board. You get to copy every single permanent on the board. Everything you have, everything all your opponents have, you get a copy of every single one of them. And of course, yes, that does include lands too. So yeah, you probably should win from there, one would think. Or how about catch and release? Now, catch is actually the side we're going to focus on for this one. Release, not so much, but catch, yeah, here we go. Sorcery for 3 mana in Is It? Gain control of target permanent until end of turn. Untap it, it gains haste until end of turn. This is kind of like the, God level version of Insurrection, essentially, when it comes to playing the card. Again, you play catch, you target any permanent on the board, and then you say, okay, Radiant Performer, do your thing. All of a sudden, you target everything, and you have stolen every single permanent on the board. Everything your opponents have, again, yes, which includes lands, they're all yours. So yeah, swing out with their armies, utilize their lands, do everything. You're gonna win from there. Or how about even just something like Buried in the Garden? Again, a very solid card that helps you ramp, but also some removal. Now that turns into mass removal. It's an aura for 4 mana in Selesnya, enchant land, enters the battlefield, exile target non-land permanent you don't control until it leaves the battlefield. When enchanted land is tapped for mana, you get an extra mana of 1 color. Yeah. Here's the thing with this again, you literally just play this in your deck because it's some ramp and removal, and then all of a sudden this becomes, I remove every single non-land permanent I don't control. Everything I don't control is now gone, thanks to Radiant Performer, copying that and just saying, you know what, apply that effect to everything. But also there's even some potential for something like, say, Vindicate. Now, this one does require a workaround, but it's still just some solid removal in your deck when you need it, right? Sorcery for 3 mana, destroy target permanent. Now, if you did Radiant Performer that, unfortunately, everything would be gone, including your things too. Which would be fine, maybe, I guess, if you have some maybe indestructible lands or something. That being said, what you could do, though, is use an incredibly weird card with Niv-Magus Elemental. A 1/2 elemental for a single mana and Is It? Exile an instant sorcery spell you control, put 2 counters on Niv-Magus. This is a card that is so unique because Yeah, it is a card that, well, can like get rid of your own spells, and there are very few situations where you really want to do that. I mean, obviously, just like pumping this and be like, yeah, okay, cool, I can hit hard, awesome. And like other formats that might be great in Commander, it's like, okay, you've got a 6/6, or I mean, I guess a 7/8. Sure, there you go. There's the math on this. All right, cool. Yeah, swing out. Good for you. But with this combination, though, again, you cast Vindicate, you target any permanent on the board, probably an opponent's, right? Then you Radiant Performer, and with Nim Magus in play, you say, okay, all of those Vindicated copies are on the stack, and I say, you know what? Let's get rid of all the ones that target my things. So you do turn it into an asymmetrical effect that makes it so that you're destroying every single one of your opponent's things, and none of your own. Even their lands, yeah, they're gone. Really quick, though, outside of, again, the Kaneos and Tiro deck that I just referenced, yeah, definitely a build that you can replicate, do some amazing things with. Let's talk about some other commanders really quick that might want to utilize this. Imodane the Pyro Hammer. 4/4 Human Knight. Whenever you cast an instant or short spell that targets only a single creature, it deals damage to that creature. It deals that much damage to each opponent. This is a way to essentially say, okay, again, I lightning bolt one thing, or again, maybe even more damage, and then all of a sudden I spread it out to every single creature, while Imodane is also dealing damage to opponents at the exact same time. Or how about Zyra the Golden Sting? Whenever it attacks, put an egg counter on another target creature with an egg counter on it. When that creature dies, an egg counter on it, draw a card and make a 1/1 insect. This says, let's speed up that process just a little bit, instead of like, okay, I go to combat, I attack. Okay, next turn, I go to combat, I attack. Okay, next turn, I go to combat, I attack. You're like, okay, I swing once, and then all of a sudden I say, you know what? Let's just spread those eggs out to everything. So every single thing out there has eggs. And then when they die, I get a lot of value. Good for me. Or how about Vayron, Voice of Duality, of course. Magecraft triggers. If you casting or comping an instant or short spell causes a triggered ability a permanent you control to trigger. Triggers initial time. Basically, Panharmonicon, but for spells in a way. Again, Radiant Performer is one that does copy those spells. And again, copy an absurd amount. So you're going to have a crazy amount of triggers. Radiant Performer is such a unique and spicy card. It is just off the charts when it comes to levels of spice and what you can do with it. Again, things that you should not be allowed to do in Magic. Like, hey, create a token copy of every single thing on the board. Yeah, if that card actually existed, just like a singular one-off card, it'd be like, I don't even know how much mana, like 12, 14? I have no idea. It would be absurd. But yeah, being able to go, okay, this plus this equals absurd effect. Just winning the game, ending the game in the spiciest of fashions. Thank you, Alec, for showing this one off. And yeah, make sure you pick it up. Let's keep things rolling, though. Next up is Song of the World Soul. Although, okay, really quick, I guess I should have mentioned that if you are interested in any of these cards, make sure you check out those card lists, link in the description below, and also the deck builds for these cards, too. Make sure you check out those episodes, like my Song of the World Soul deck built around Giganta and Karuga. I love this card. Wizards, here, come here really quick for a second. Come here. Reprint it. What are you doing, you clowns? Enchantment for 6 mana in white. Whenever you cast a spell, populate. This card is such a unique card. It is such an amazing card. Populate. I love populate. And I really want them to, well, make more populate cards, and also want them to, reprint this. Create a token that's a copy of a creature you control. Oh, sorry, creature token, I should say. But yeah, you can basically make that into kind of what I misspoke there as well, because this is a card where, yeah, the potential for it, again, just at a base level is, okay, I've got a token strategy, all right? I've got a bunch of soldiers or birds or whatever I have. Cool, all right, rhinos, awesome, yay. All of a sudden, I'm like, okay, I cast a spell. Oh, awesome, I get another rhino. Yay, good for me. But the potential is so much more than that, because yeah, there are plenty of ways to actually make creature token copies of actual creatures so that you can get their effects, and you shouldn't be able again to get their effects. Kind of like Radiant Performer is like, hey, let's take this and multiply it to infinity. Not infinity, really, but, you know, an extreme. With this, you can also do that too. You can take a creature that has an absurd effect and say, let's get a lot of effects, because every single time now I cast a spell, even if it's just a little cantrip or whatnot, or like a rampant growth, it's like, oh, I got a copy of my best creature on the board. Good for me. So obviously cards like Cackling Counterpart are amazing. I didn't realize this one got downgraded to an uncommon, but cool. Instant for 3 mana in blue. Create tokens, copy target creature you control, and you can flash it back. So being able to copy one of your own creatures, that's huge again, especially if you've got a creature that's got a great ETB or, you know, an effect or a trigger. You're like, okay, cool. Copy you. I get that again. And then, of course, with Song of the World Soul, now anytime I cast any spell, I can then copy that creature that I just copied. Makes sense? Or how about, well, Hate Mirage? How about your opponent's creatures now too? Sorcerer, 4 mana, choose up to 2 target creatures you don't control. For each of those tokens, create a token that's copy that creature. They gain haste, exile beginning the next end step. So basically, not stealing your opponent's creatures, but mimicking them. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, well, I really wouldn't get to keep those in play, right? Exile being next end step, unless I had like a Sundial the Infinite type thing going on, or Rebecca. But if I don't, that's okay, because again, with Song of the World Soul in play, I'm like, okay, cast a spell, copy one of those creatures, cast another spell, copy the other one. If I want to copy both, or copy the same one twice. So yeah, you get to keep those other tokens permanently. How about Seance? Yeah, this card. One of probably the worst cards, not worst cards in Magic, but just a card that you get laughed at when you put this on the table. All of a sudden becomes the biggest threat on the board. Oh my goodness. I remember a time where with my deck, with my Giganta deck, I had this in play, and all of a sudden players are like, we really need to get rid of Seance. That card is doing way too much work. Enchantment for 4 mana in white. The beginning of each upkeep, you may exile target creature card from your graveyard. If you do, put a token on the battlefield that's a copy of that card, except a spirit niche other types. Exile begin next end step. Being able to just say, hey, you know what? Let's get rid of anything in my graveyard and all of a sudden get a token copy of it. It's only temporary, but again, with Song of the World Soul, it is now permanent. Replication technique, though. Let's get an extra copy of, well, Song of the World Soul itself, and maybe a second copy. Create a token that's copy target permanent you control, and you can demonstrate it too. So an opponent gets a copy of something, but again, now you've got 3 Song of the World Souls, and anytime you're casting a spell, you get 3 copies of things like, oh, I don't know. One of my favorites, of course, Gary, Grey Merchant of Asphodel. Enters the battlefield. Each opponent loses X life for extra duration to black. You gain life, equal life lost this way. Yeah, that's going to be pretty absurd. Again, you just keep building up that devotion more and more and more every single time you cast spells. A great thing to copy and a great thing to duplicate with the Song of the World Soul. Or how about Master Biomancer? Quite a fun one. Each other creature you control enters the battlefield with a number of additional counters on it equal to Master Biomancer's power and is a mutant to other types. Basically, again, you're like, okay, I've got this in play. Now I've got a second one, a third one, a fourth one. They keep building up counters on the next ones, of course. And also, well, everything that comes into play now sees all of them and says, oh, I've got like an absurd amount of counters every single time I come into play. Or how about Consuming Aberration, something else that builds on itself? Star with power and toughness, each equal to the number of cards in your opponent's graveyards. Whenever you cast a spell, everyone's going to mill until they hit a land, and all those go into the graveyard. Yeah, this already can just be the biggest creature on the board super easily. But of course, then, whenever you play any other spell, yeah, you're going to be like, all right, I've got another one in play. All of a sudden, I'm making another copy thanks to Song of the World Soul. And now I'm also going to be milling everyone further based on all of these. So you keep making more and more and more of them, milling out your opponents. I mean, you can literally just win by mill with this too. And also having like, 100 plus power Consuming Aberrations on the board, one-shot KOs for everyone. Again, the deck I built around with this one was my Giganta, Karuga deck, which I absolutely love. It's kind of just like, yeah, you got 5 colors. You use these as cards. The companion is Karuga because it's funny. And you can draw these cards too with Song of the World Soul. That being said, really quick, some commanders that might want to consider this outside of that. Anixia is absurd with Song of the World Soul. Enters the battlefield or attacks, exile up to 1 target non-aura or enchantment card from your graveyard. Create a token that's a copy of that card. Except it's a 3/3 black zombie. So basically, again, you're making a copy of Song of the World Soul that is a creature. And all of a sudden now, every single time you cast a spell, you can do that again and again and again. And it just kind of builds on itself and goes absolutely crazy with exponential growth. Radadrabic of Urborg. Whenever another legend creature you control dies, you get a token that's a copy of it, but it's not legendary. It's a 2/2 zombie. Yeah, again, you shouldn't be able to get token copies of legendary creatures regardless, and now you can get an absurd amount with Song of the World Soul. Bernard Ginger Sculptor, kind of similar in this. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, you can exile it. If you do, you get a food token copy of it. That's a 1/1 food golem, because that's a thing. But yeah, again, you're basically like, okay, Song of the World Soul, cast spells, get extra copies of them, utilize, all their like ETBs, LTBs. Or how about Zinnia, Valley's Voice, yet another way. Again, creature spells you cast have Offspring 2. Pay an extra 2 mana, get a token copy of it. That's just a 1/1, but again, with the effects that you can get, absolutely absurd. Or how about Atla Palani? Again, make eggs! Because whenever your eggs die, reveal cards to the top of your library to a creature card, put on the battlefield, the rest of your library in a random order, kind of like a random spinning of the wheel of getting something off the top of your library. Now, anytime you cast a spell, you're like, oh, okay, extra copy of that. Again, Song of the World Soul is an absurdly amazing, unique card. Wizards, reprint it, you clowns. What are you doing? Reprint it. Thank you. All right, buckle up for this next one because we've got Hypergenesis. Yeah, this card is kind of ultimate level spice when it comes to Commander. So spicy, in fact, that if you maybe have an entire deck built around it like I do, you ask ahead of time if they're okay with something a bit different, because it is a very different game when you utilize a card like this. It's basically blue braids. I have to specify now because there are 2 braids now that are legal in Commander. Actually, 3. Anyways, blue braids, but essentially taken to the max. Hypergenesis is a sorcery that costs... Yeah, that's not like a pause in it. It's just like, it costs nothing. There you go. But it is green, and it has to spend 3 for 1 green. Starting with you, each player may put an artifact, creature, enchantment, or a land card from their hand into play. Repeat this process until no one puts a card into play. This is a crazy effect. So crazy, in fact, that it's banned in some other formats. I think it's banned in Modern. But basically, in Commander, yeah, there's some ways to utilize this in fantastic fashion. Like, taking advantage of the fact that it doesn't have a mana value technically, but if you are technically, you know, revealing cards off the top of your library like Cascade fashion, technically when you hit it, it is 0. So yes, you still can cast it that way. But essentially, yeah, the other way to do it is to suspend it. So yeah, people can see that coming, or again, if you build around it, they might not see it coming. And what's happening with this one and why it's so spicy is, again, literally everyone's dumping everything into play at the same time. And of course, all these ETBs are going to be happening, but basically, again, in a more controlled fashion. Not one at a time in that way, but yeah, kind of one at a time by player. So you can do some crazy things like, again, have your opponents play all their best things like, wow, oh great, awesome, I'm doing great, all right, this is perfect, I get to cheat and play my best things. And then all of a sudden, one of the things that you haven't played, though, is, yeah, Illuminate Primordial. And since, again, all the ETBs are going to go on the stack later after everything is out, well, you get to take out your opponent's best things. A 4/7 Avatar at Vigilance for 7 mana. When it enters the battlefield for each opponent, eggs up to 1 target creature that player controls, and that player gains life equal to its power. Again, assuming that you're building around Hypergenesis, you're probably going to have some ways to take advantage of it and say, oh yeah, okay, so you all just snuck out your best creatures, get rid of them. Go away! Basically, Swords to Plowshares on all your opponent's best creatures. Or how about Terastodon? There you go, for non-creature things as well that can be cheated into play. Enters the battlefield, this giant 9/9 elephant, on top of it just being a massive threat that you're cheating into play. Enters the battlefield, destroy up to 3 target non-creature permanents. For each permanent put into a graveyard this way, make a 3/3 elephant for that controller. So yeah, well worth it. And of course, you're going to have the biggest creatures on the board. That's fine. And also, you know what? Let's replace the hand as well, okay? Sphinx of Athun, a 5/6 Sphinx with flying for 7 mana. ETBs, basically fact or fiction. 2 piles of the top 5 cards, you get one of them. Awesome. Get some new cards. And of course, there's other great, ETB draws as well. And you can take advantage of your ETBs even further by also cheating into play Duke Ulda Raven God. And when you say the name, you have to say it like that. A 5/5 Human Noble Soldier for 6 mana. It just seems like it'd be said like that, right? Duke Ulda Raven God. At the beginning of combat on your turn, another target creature you control gains haste and myriad until end of turn, making it so that you can, well, swing with that creature right away, which is very nice. But also, again, get 2 extra copies of that creature. Again, 1 for each of the opponents that it's not attacking, which now that tokens are coming into play and attacking them. So again, with like Illuminate Primordial, it's like, oh, okay, cool. Get rid of 6 more creatures. Sphinx of Athun, Fact or Fiction, 2 more times Terastodon. Get rid of, again, 6 more things. What's not to love about that? So yeah, again, when it comes to a deck that you can build with Hypergenesis, I mean, yeah, Cody is a great one. That's how I built it. You can't cast permanent spells, but you're going to be playing a lot of permanents. Yeah, building the entire deck basically around always being able to cast Hypergenesis and then get it back in your library and then do it again because it is the only thing in your library that costs 0. And then also you have things in your library that have a cost of 1, but they're also like split cards too, so technically they're not 1, but they're 1 on the stack. Take advantage of those cards, utilize them to fantastic fashion, and ensure that you are Hypergenesising to your heart's content. Again, with the approval of a play group, because yeah, some players out there would be like, I wanted to play a game of Magic, and you're like, this is Magic, and they'd be like, not really. No, Hypergenesis isn't really Magic. It's just like, let's just dump things from our hand into play. Yeah, Magic! Okay, yeah, make sure you ask ahead of time. I mean, another way to do this, though, is obviously with Yidris, Maelstrom Wielder, again, giving you access to a lot of colors, and also giving you that Cascade. Trampling 5/4, deals combination to a player. As you cast spells from your hand this turn, they gain Cascade. So again, if you've got any kind of a 1 mana card, essentially, like a Soul Ring, etc., as long as you've got no other 0 mana cards in your deck, then you're going to be able to hit that off the top of your library while you're cascading, so you can cast it for free. Or how about Alando the Seer? One that isn't going to give you, that cascadey type effect, kind of like Gidris or like Cody, but it is going to give you a way to speed up the process on Hypergenesis. Tap, draw a card, then exile a card from your hand and put a number of time counters on it equal to its mana value. It gains when the last time counter is removed from this card. If it's exiled, you may cast without paying its mana cost. If you cast a creature spell this way, it gains haste all of turn, then remove a time counter from each other card you own in exile. Here's the weird thing with this one, and rules lawyers out there, you can correct me if I'm wrong on it, but do not exile Hypergenesis with this, because though it has no time counters on it, and you think, okay, you could cast it right away, no, because there's nothing ever removed from it, so you don't get that trigger, I don't believe, so you wouldn't be able to actually cast it. So actually, you need to pay the 3, pay the 1 green, suspend it, and then utilize this ability to take off those time counters faster, so that's the way to do it. And of course, with this commander, you'll have some massive things to cheat into play. Anyways, Hypergenesis, so much fun, and so much different kind of play patterns, essentially, that you should be, again, asking the people your LGS, asking your playgroup if they're okay with a different kind of game. And you can maybe just even keep it to that, all right? If they pry further, then yeah, let them know it's Hypergenesis, but make sure that they're up to, an off-the-rails type of game, one that is different than other types of games out there, because this is not typical. Being able to Hypergenesis consistently with Cody on turn 4 and being like, okay, everyone, here we go. Now just dump your hands into play on turn 4. And it might be turn 3 for some players too if you went first. And then all of a sudden everyone's expected to be like, yeah, this is magic. And you're like, yes, it's magic. Have fun with it. Get ready for what's coming next, though, because we've got Deep Glow Skate, my favorite fish in Magic, and it's a tough competition. There's a lot of fish out there in Magic. Anyways, I think there is at least. A 3/3 fish for 5 mana in blue. Enters the battlefield, double the number of each kind of counter on any number of target permanents. It's kind of interesting that this is like a manta ray, right? But it's not a manta ray, it's a fish. There's also sharks in Magic, aren't there? I believe there's sharks. Or are they fish? I think they're sharks. They're definitely sharks, right? But sharks are also fish. So yeah, with our manta ray, what are we going to be doing? Yeah, we're going to be doubling up counters on any number. Again, any number of target permanents. So this is a pretty unique effect that is, well, an amazing one to build around such a spicy card, and it can go in so many different directions. I mean, obviously, I think where this sees probably the most play is okay, I've got Planeswalkers. Yeah, that can be really potent in Planeswalker decks, obviously, because of loyalty counters and being able to say, okay, yeah, all of you basically can just ultimate right now. Good for you. Have fun. You probably just won the game. That being said, outside of that, I like building a deck around this card that is more so, utilizing those kind of janky, terrible cards that's okay, yeah, you maybe get a couple of counters on them or whatever, and they're an okay card or terrible pretty much. But then utilizing this kind of a card and utilizing that ETB again and again and again and again makes it so that you can get an absurd amount of counters on those things and just do the craziest things in the world. I love utilizing a card like this to turn, again, those janky, terrible cards into the biggest threats on the board. Kind of like I mentioned earlier with Seance, where it's get rid of the Seance. Get rid of the Seance! This is oh yeah, you need to get rid of, Iceberg. Do you know what Iceberg is? We'll get to that here in a little bit. Anyways, the deck that I built around this one, though, utilizes a bunch of blink effects, Essence Flux. Thank you, Wizards, for reprinting this one. Now go reprint Song of the World Soul. Exile target creature you control to return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. Yeah, getting your creature to leave and come back. A blink effect like this is fantastic, and it doesn't matter if it's a spirit. Who cares? Ignore that part. 1 mana, basically, again, double up all the kinds of counters that you want on your permanents. Do that. Conjurer's Closet, of course, a good, now more budget-friendly way to do so because it's been reprinted a couple times now. Way to just freely blink something at the end of your turn. Again, a free blink like this equals free absurd value by doubling things up. Here's just some of the things that you can double up. Astral Cornucopia, an amazing one, okay? Everflowing Chalice as well, alright, but I just want to give this version too. This one costs, X, X, and X, but essentially, yeah, I mean, you don't have to really invest all that much mana into it to make it effective with this kind of a strategy. Enters with X charge counters on it, so if you cast it for 3, it's going to be 1, 6, 2, etc., etc. But yeah, if you just cast it for 1, that's fine, because then you would double it and double it again, and eventually get to an absurd amount. And you can tap and choose a color and add 1 mana of that color for each charge counter on it. So, again, you can get this thing to, very easily, okay, 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32. All of a sudden, you've got more mana than all of your opponents combined, and it's yeah, just from this 1 mana rock. Or how about from a land? Yeah, that's right. From a land, calciform pools, and there's also other versions of this as well. There's a cycle. Tap for a colorless, pay 1, tap put a storage counter on it, pay 1, remove X storage counters from it at X mana in any combination of white and or blue. Yeah, again, you can just get 1 storage counter on this, and all of a sudden you are off to the races, get an absurd amount, and then literally just pay 1 mana, and all of a sudden your land just generated you more mana than your opponents could ever dream of having. Now we're getting into, though, Iceberg. Yeah, have you ever heard of this card? Ever seen this card? No, because it's absolutely weird. Anyways, it's in blue. Enchantment for X blue blue, which I guess makes sense with, like, an iceberg, but, like, when it comes to, like, what the function is, it's like, it doesn't make all that much sense. This should probably be in green somehow. I don't know. Pay 3, put an ice counter on it. Pay 0, remove an ice counter from it. Add 1 colorless mana to your mana pool, plays an interrupt, and enters with X counters on it. Yeah, basically, again, just cast this for essentially like 3 mana, maybe 4 if you really want to. And then just double it. Double it again, double it again, double it again. And whenever you need to, just remove counters from it to add free mana to your mana pool. It's just a mana storage bank for you that just keeps growing throughout the game. And yeah, if you're set up properly, you're never going to run out. Pentad Prism, very similar to that one, but any mana colors, essentially. Sunburst this out. It's going to come into play with 2 counters on it most of the time. Remove a charge counter from it. Add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Again, you just leave the counters on it. You double up those counters again and again and again. And guess what? You've got a giant mana resource that will make your opponents incredibly jealous of your Pentad Prism that you are playing in Commander. Which is a phrase you don't usually hear. Omniseas, maybe put your opponents out of their misery with a giant Kraken army, bigger than that Sea Monster tribal player over there that's playing Sea Monsters. And you're like, oh, okay, that's cute. Yeah, we got like 8 in play. Okay, well, I've got like 400 counters on this bad boy. All right, let's make an absurd amount of Krakens. I was going to do the math real quick, but anyways. Enchantment for 2 mana in blue. Whenever you draw a card, put a 4 shadow counter on it, remove 8 counters from it, make an 8/8. Yeah, just like literally whenever you want to, like right before your turn, you're like, okay, cool. Okay, let's make an easier math, test out here. Okay, let's say we've got 160 counters on this, which yes, you can get to. You're like, okay, cool. Yeah, I'll remove. You know what? Actually, I want to keep now just to mess up my math. I want to leave some counters on there so I can keep doubling them again. So let's take off all but 8 counters, and all of a sudden I made 19 Krakens right before my turn with 8 power each. Good luck, opponents, ever trying to stop me from doing that. Or how about Palliation Accord? Yeah, what a janky, weird card, which I love in my Feldergriff deck. And Wizards, why? Why did you have to change the name of the counters on it to Palliation counters? Here we go. Enchantment for 5 mana in Azorius. Whenever a creature the opponent controls becomes tapped, put a shield counter on Palliation Accord. Move a shield counter from it. For the next 1 damage to be dealt to you this turn. I understand that you invented a new kind of counter that's called shield. Okay, not my problem, Wizards. This card is not OP, never will it ever be OP. So can't you just leave them to be shield counters so that this is just miscellaneously protected too? Is it really that big of a deal, Wizards? Regardless, you get whatever kinds of counters it's Palliation counters these days on it, and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, yeah, I've got 200 counters on this. Good luck ever getting through and actually, hitting me. Yeah, because I can just prevent any kind of damage that I ever want to. Yay. Again, when this is like the biggest threat on the board and like an opponent's like, you need to get rid of that because obviously they can't get rid of Deep Glow Escape because I've got too many ways to blink it and stuff. But like, yeah, okay, yeah. Get rid of Palliation Accord? It's like, yeah. How about Prism Array? Hey, converge this one so it come into play with, a crystal counter on it for each color mana spent to cast it. I can't wait until Wizards comes up with a crystal counter for something else. It's like, now we need to change the name of this one to a Prism counter. Anyways, remove a crystal counter from it, tap down a creature, and pay Wooburg to scry 3. This is a card that sees like no play against 11 cents, and it is a dominating card in a deck built around Deep Glow Escape because, yeah, once you get a certain amount of counters on there, your opponents will never be able to attack you. Literally, you're just like, okay, before your combat, hey, are you going to attack me with those creatures? Oh, I was planning on it. Okay, tap them down. Oh, okay. Next turn, they learn their lesson. Hey, you going to attack me with those creatures? No, sir. Okay, swing at someone else then, please. Thank you. If not, I'll just tap down your creatures again and again and again. So you can get through on opponents, you can politic with opponents, and obviously you will never be hit by creatures with this as well. When it comes to commanders that are utilizing this card, mine is Eska. Okay, and I'm not lying here, but it's not Essica. All right, fine. It's Prismatic Bridge. I'm not even trying to hide it. Backside of the card is much more popular. Essentially, the Prismatic Bridge is a 5-mana Wooburg commander, legendary enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, reveal cards in the top of your library to a creature or planeswalker card. Put it right in the battlefield. You rest bomb your library in random order. Yeah, now you can build around this commander as like, okay, like really good miscellaneous creatures, awesome, or planeswalkers. Mine is more so, hey, I have 1 creature in the deck and I'd like to get it out, and that is Deep Glow Escape. So yeah, basically, play this, wait a turn, it comes out, and all of a sudden I get the ETB, and then I can blink it again and again and again. Attract Spirit of Voice is another amazing one. Obviously, a commander that is built around proliferation. Beginning of your end step, proliferate. Lovely. It can be built in so many different ways. Planeswalkers, counters, etc., etc. By being able to double those up, you're going to have a lot of fun with that. Of course, any kind of a Planeswalker commander like Commodore Guff that is about Planeswalker commanders as well. Beginning of your end step, put a loyalty counter on target Planeswalker you control. Other Planeswalker-y things too. Yeah, being able to double up those is massive. Again, like I mentioned, especially with ones that have, ultimate, I win the game, basically loyalty abilities. Kind of like Nicol Bolas, which is not a Planeswalker commander, but when you flip it over, it is Nicol Bolas the Arisen. -12, exile all but the bottom card of target player's library, basically means that player loses the game. Unless they literally have, like, Lab Maniac in play, and you're like, you're welcome. And they're like, what? Thank you, I appreciate that. But yeah, 7 times 2, doubling that up, will get you there just right away. So yeah, again, Deep Glow Skate, such a super spicy, amazing card. I absolutely love it. So much fun, so unique. Make sure you build a deck around it because it's so cool. Here comes a really spicy one. I would say that, I mean, a lot of the colors have a lot of spicy cards out there. I'd say like black, it might be at the top when it comes to like spicy level cards, because black does like power at the cost of like anything essentially, right? And when it comes to that, you get some really interesting interactions, a lot of really interesting concepts, and Lich's Mastery is so cool and so risky at the exact same time. Legendary enchantment for 6 mana in black. Hexproof, you can't lose the game. I mean, if it just stopped there, you'd be like, my god, that's awesome. And if it kept going a little bit further, you'd be like, my god, that's amazing. Whenever you draw a card, whenever you gain a life, draw that many cards. There you go. On top of that, though, unfortunately, whenever you lose life, for each 1 life you lost, you exile a permanent you control a card from your hand or graveyard. And if it just happens to leave the battlefield, well, you lose the game. Which is not a good thing, typically. But you can actually make it into a good thing in a way, too. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. This is a card that I absolutely love. I love cards that, again, have massive, crazy upside with a bunch of risk to them, because they kind of need to balance themselves out with that risk, right? Yeah, if someone casts any kind of, like, a board wipe that takes out enchantments and doesn't target, then you're like, oh, I guess I lose the game. Whoops. But yeah, also, you can't lose the game from other ways, too. So yeah, there's ways that you can get around that. And of course, taking advantage of the absurd effect of whenever you're gaining life, you're drawing that many cards. That is insane. And there are so many cool ways to take advantage of that. One way is Confessor. Ever heard of this? Probably not. It's a 1/1 human cleric. I believe it's been errad to a human. For a single white mana, whenever a player discards a card from their hand, you gain 1 life. Awesome. So this is a card where literally it sees like basically no play at all in Commander. It's kind of terrible. But essentially with this card, you're like, oh, I can set myself up really well, because if I ever happen to discard cards, I draw cards. And then maybe if I got ways to discard those cards, I draw cards. I do it again and again and again and again and again. And of course, like if anyone wheels or just does other things too, then you're drawing cards as well. But yeah, still, it's a really cool card. Or how about Soul Warden, one of these Soul Sisters, a 1/1 human cleric for a single white mana. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, you gain 1 life. Be able to say, okay, anyone having any creature enter the battlefield at all, doesn't matter if it's my creatures, my opponent's creatures, token creatures, non-token creatures, it does not matter. All of a sudden, I'm gaining life and I'm drawing cards. It's pretty crazy. And of course, that sets you up for some really cool plays. But first up, a slightly bigger version, Heal of the Pride for your own creatures. Another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 2 life. The reason I want to point this one out is because the deck that I built has, well, a lot of those Soul Sister type cards in it, but also it's got a card that's called Zombie Infestation, one of my favorite cards of all time. I love repeat effects that you can utilize for free. They do have a cost, but no mana involved, and actually no life involved with this one either, so the limit does not exist. I mean, the limit exists because of the number of cards in your library, but still, enchantment for 2 mana in black. Discard 2 cards, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. Anyone else catch the Mean Girls reference there? No? Okay. Yeah, being able to just go, okay, I discard 2 cards, I make a zombie, I gain 2 life. I discard 2 cards, I make a zombie, I gain 2 life. Just is so much fun being able to do something just janky like that with this weird combo with Lich's Mastery. I use Influence, one of my favorite cards as well. Discard a land card, you make a 2/2 bear. All of a sudden, you turn your lands into bears, which also turns into card draw. Or how about just a simple Congregate? Okay, cool. Hey, 4 mana, target player gains 2 life for each creature on the battlefield. Guess what? I'm targeting myself. Absolutely. How many creatures on the battlefield? 20. Awesome. For 4 mana, I will draw 40 cards. Good luck, opponents. When it comes to, well, a commander that I built this commander deck around, it was Sisay with the Light Captain because, yeah, I need to go get Lich's Mastery, and this is a great way to do so. +1/1 for each color among other legendary permanents you control. By paying Wooburg, tutor out any legendary permanent from your library with converted mana cost less than Sisay's power. Put it right in the battlefield. So yeah, basically, get 6 power to 7, tutor out Lich's Mastery, and have fun! Speaking of fun, though, of course, you can do some crazy things like Quasar Augur of Agonies, which does combo with it, though obviously you need enough cards in your library to, well, not lose yourself, essentially, as well, or your opponents need to have a certain amount of life. Yeah, I mean, basically, technically you can't, like, lose, because you can't lose the game, right? But, you can't just keep drawing and taking opponents out. So, like, you just have no library, but you have all the cards in your hand. And, you might not win, but you might. Anyways, next up, we've got, how about Phage the Untouchable, which has it in the deck just for, a very different reason, because Lich's Mastery says you can't lose the game. It lets you get Phage into play, which is kind of cool. But also, you might have some life gain synergies as well. Comes into play, if you didn't play from your hand, you lose the game. Again, you're playing for the command zone, so yeah, you basically lose the game unless you've got a workaround, and Lich's Mastery is a workaround. Or how about Blim Comedic Genius? So much fun. Flying deals combination to a player. That player gains control of target permanent you control. They lose life and discard cards equal to the number of permanents they control but don't own. This can be just brutal. I mean, you literally give an opponent something that, like, says, sure, you can't lose the game, but also there's downsides. And also, if they ever lose that permanent, they lose the game. And on top of that, hey, you lose life and have to discard cards. And cards are absolutely necessary to have, obviously, for Lich's Mastery to stay alive. And also losing life makes them also lose more things too. So yeah, there's a lot of fun ways to really take advantage of this card. It's such a fun, spicy, weird card. Again, when it comes to black, it's like, okay, power at any cost, and that makes for some really interesting designs, and Lich's Mastery is a super spicy one. Okay, finally, a quick little bonus card for you. Bonus, because, well, I mean, we went through all the colors, right? We went through Wooburg, we went through one spicy card per each color, but you know what? Colorless needs its day in the sun as well. And speaking of the sun, I guess, I don't know, like, I think about, like, Ixalan, the sun, Azor's Gateway, I don't know. Anyways, don't know where it's going with that. Ledger Artifact for 2, pay 1, tap, draw a card, then exile a card from your hand. If cards with 5 or more different converted mana costs are exiled with Azor's Gateway, you gain 5 life, untap it, and transform it. Okay, a fun little project for you to do, but once you do it, the payoff is insane. Hi, excuse me, Sanctum of the Sun. There, that's where Sun came in. Okay, I knew Sun was somewhere. Tap, add X mana of any one color to your mana pool where X is your life total. Oh my goodness. Again, literally, like, player over there with, like, Gaia's Cradle's like, I'm tapping for 10 mana, ha ha ha, I'm so good. And then you flip this over and you're like, I'm tapping for 45. Bring it, Gaia's Cradle. I mean, you literally, again, just make more mana than any of your opponents have, except for that one weird player over there that's playing, like, a Deep Glow Skate deck that's got Iceberg in play, and they're like, this Iceberg's really fun. Anyways, that player, which is me, being able to essentially just have your land tap for an absurd amount of mana. Obviously, there's so many ways to take advantage of that. When it comes to commanders that can really utilize this, I mean, Tetsun's a very obvious one. This one is a double-faced card itself. 2/2 Gnome for 3 mana in Jeskai. Whenever another double-faced artifact enters the battlefield under your control, mill 3 cards. You may put an artifact card from among them in your hand. Craft the 6 artifacts. You flip this over, and all of a sudden, 6/6 Vigilance Trample. Whenever it enters the battlefield or attacks, transform up to one of their target double-faced artifact you control. Create 2 1/1 colorless no artifact creature tokens. Yeah, just being able to freely transform that into Sanctum of the Sun without actually having to go through the Azor's Gateway stuff, yeah, it can be quite nice just to skip that process, and all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, I've got a land that taps for a certain amount of mana. Good for me. Derevi, yeah, more like a non-Staxy version of Derevi, okay, if you're going to build around this. Derevi can be absolutely obnoxious, and if you're not playing in a play group that's okay with stacks, then don't play it. 2/3 Bird Wizard flying for 3 mana. Whenever it enters the battlefield or a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you may tap or untap target permanent by paying 4 in Bant. Put it from the command zone on the battlefield, basically. So yeah, this is a crazy good commander, a crazy powerful commander, one that can be built stacksy, but you can just build it where you're like untapping your own things. So yeah, okay. Untap Azor's Gateway to make it quicker for you to actually be able to flip it. And then also, once you do flip it into Sanctum of the Sun, yeah, untap that land and be like, I've got 400 mana this turn. Yay, good for me. Or how about the Peregrine Dynamo? Cool. In a color deck, you can make it work as well. 1/5 Ledger Artifact Creature Construct with haste. Pay 1 tap, copy target activated or triggered ability from another legendary source that's not a commander, like, Azor's Gateway or the land. You may choose your targets for the copy, so have fun with that. Obviously, there's a risk reward to it where it's just like, oh no, someone's going to destroy it. But maybe they don't. Or maybe you got a way to protect it because, yeah, there's a lot of investment to it. Or if you just, have, the Golden Gear Colossus flip over, then you're like, okay, I just flip it. Or if you're like a really, 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 like, interesting werewolf deck, and then you have, like, a way to somehow, like, turn this into a creature as well. I don't know, like Titania's Song, essentially. Here we go. All right, no, because that gets rid of the ability. There's gotta be a way to do it, right? Where you like turn it into a creature, and then all of a sudden you turn it into a werewolf creature with Masquerade Nexus, and then you flip your werewolves. That's the play. There we go. All right, someone build that deck. There's got to be a way to do it, right? So yeah, everyone get on that, and then get back to me. Again, there are so many spicy cards out there in Commander, in Magic in general, but yeah, these just come to mind for me as the spiciest cards out there for their colors, and colors as well. Radiant Performer, again, thank you, Alec, for showing me the amazingness of this and decimating me with that deck. Being able to just copy everything targeted, oh, you can do some absolutely insane things. Wizards, what am I going to say? Reprint Song of the World Soul. Do it right now. Do it right now. I think literally the price went up during this episode somehow. I don't know. Anyways, reprint it. Whenever you cast a spell Populate, you can do some really crazy, awesome things with that. Deep Glow Skate, ETB, everything gets larger when it comes to the number of charge counters on it, or whatever kinds of counters that they have. Hypergenesis, let's play a completely different game. Again, if you are going to build around this one, please ask people first if they're okay with a different version of Magic, because it is not your typical game of Magic, and some players might be rubbed the wrong way by that. So ask ahead of time, because braids to the max is not exactly what everyone wants to play against, so do keep that in mind. Lich's Mastery, really weird, really risky, really fun, absolutely. And Azor's Gateway, hey, you know what? Little mini game to get an absurd land that also you can kind of skip the mini game in some ways too. Have fun with all these spicy cards. And you know what? Actually, try to make a deck with all of them in general. No, don't try to do that. I mean, maybe do that, but it's going to be hard to kind of make them all work together. Make separate decks with all of them, okay? They're a lot of fun. And with that, this episode is coming to a close. As always, comment below with your thoughts on it. And of course, as always, thanks again, and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.